Coming live from Dracul 1 National Television Studios in North Dracul, the capital, we bring to you tonight the North Dracul Governor Candidate's first debate with Eric Harvey Williams Jr. and candidate Paul Frye. This is the North Dracul Governor Candidate's first debate. Now, bringing you live to the debate before it starts, our announcer and representative for tonight's debate, Vice President Stephen Luke.
What is your viewpoint on border protection walls?
Okay. Apologize, guys. I hate technical difficulties. I believe all countries should have the right to defend themselves against immigration and have some control on who and when someone is to enter their country. At the same time, I believe in humane approaches and responsibilities for those immigrants, regardless if they're citizens or not. They're still human beings and they deserve rights.
Okay. And now we're going to ask the same question to Mr. Eric Williams Jr. Same question, please. What is your stance on illegal immigration, and should countries be able to have protection on their borders?
My stance on illegal immigration, I really believe there should be non-tolerance on illegal immigration. Because really, immigration comes down to helping the poverty, and to be honest, it's very hard to help each and every single person that comes illegally, first and foremost. But the only way I believe that we can actually help them is if we can help them in their own territory, their own place of residence, build them up to where they stand. But coming over here illegally first is going to harm us financially. So that's where I stand on that.
Okay. On to the next topic. Mr. Frye, what is your stance on marijuana and other recreational drugs?
Well, there's a lot of different stances that people have. I personally feel that I'm not in favor for recreational use of drugs. However, I do see a great balance in some drugs that contribute in society under controlled and moderated circumstances in a medical application or environment. I also seen huge steps in medical advancements, significant steps when it comes to, i.e. examples, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, seizures, and other health issues that are out there right now. A lot of the hemp oils and stuff, which is derived from the plant, is a byproduct, and it helps people. Also, you look at all these states and other countries that have legalized it, and they're actually able to draw large amounts of capital and income based off of these usages. Once again, I do not believe that recreational use should be allowed, but use for medical purposes in a moderation or a controlled environment I do approve of.
Okay. And Mr. Eric Williams, you have 2 minutes to respond to Mr. Frye's answer regarding the marijuana. Do you feel that marijuana and other recreational drugs should be legalized?
My viewpoints, I still have the same viewpoints as Paul, that the marijuana should only be used as only for medical issues, for medical reasonings. I don't believe it should be used recreational at all. I still believe it should be illegal. For the point of being, because people overuse things, and it should be really in moderations, and there should be people supervising it as medical staff. That's where my stance is on that.
Now, to touch on the topic of marijuana uh, we want to go back. Now, you said that it should be illegal for recreational use, but legal for medical, correct? Now, uh, just so we understand, uh, Mr. Frye, are you on the same standpoint? Illegal for recreational, legal for medical?
Are we talking about just the marijuana, or are we talking about drugs? And I guess I didn't catch the whole question. I want to make sure I'm giving you what you're asking me for.
Well, we it looks like most of what's been talked about, answer-wise, has been marijuana. So specifically marijuana.
Well, once again, my stance on it is I feel it's more appropriate for a medical use. However, I mean, it needs to be moderated and controlled. So if there was an environment for that to happen, I mean, and it's regulated, I guess I could be okay with it. But I wouldn't be okay with it as in recreational, as in like alcohol is today, to where you can go anywhere and buy it. You have to be confined to certain areas and so and such. I mean, we could go more in depth to that, and the fact that, once again, if it's controlled and moderated, I feel maybe we can look at it as a step.
Somebody brought up a good point here in the comments watching on the live feed. Our nation legalized cannabis for recreational and medical uses last year. We haven't seen any negative consequences. And then someone else responded, but everything in moderation. So I guess we'll just have to see where state legislators and federal also take us. We could possibly be seeing a prohibition, 1920s type thing, where alcohol was illegal for so long, and then finally they legalized it. And I do believe, from all of the advocating, the promoting of marijuana, multiple states allowing it to be passed, that it could end up the same way like prohibition did and legalized federally one day. And it would probably be less people in prison too. So, moving on to the next topic. Mr. Frye, what is your stance on abortion, and how do you view Planned Parenthood?
This subject right here is a very, very touchy subject for anybody, any generation, any age. I honestly believe that it's the woman's right. It's her body. It's her body. It's being subjected to the procedures. I feel it should be a general consent, though. I feel that fathers should have some say in it too. But for the most part, I do feel that a female has the right to abort under certain circumstances. No, I'm not for just let's go get knocked up and get an abortion. That's not what I'm saying. I feel it should be at the wise of the female and due to circumstances. There are a lot of times circumstances do not. I'm trying to think of the proper way how to say that. Get in over your head sometimes. Parenthood is something that's a whole different ballgame that a lot of people don't understand until they're actually headfirst into it. So I do believe it's the female's body. She should have the ultimate say in it. Planned Parenthood, not a fan of them, but they do have other objectives that they try to take care of, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. That was a question here, and I'm certainly glad that you answered it, and I do feel that was an accurate answer. Now, on the other hand, Mr. Eric Williams Jr. has another view on that. Same question, Mr. Williams. What's your view on abortion? Should there be exceptions? And your view on Planned Parenthood?
My view on abortion, I'm against abortion because I'm against taking life. I'm pro-life. I understand that things do happen to females unintentionally. That they may get raped, and they may not want the child because of them being raped. But my thing is that at least give that child a chance of life If you don't want to take care of them, give it up for adoption for someone who actually wants a child. Uh, don't take the child's life. Give someone a chance at life because there are uh, children who are born off of rape cases that they actually became some outstanding citizens and outstanding leaders in the community. And just I can't imagine just ending someone's life when they're barely starting inside of a fetus because it's still life. They're still they're there. It's life. So any type of abortion is killing a human being, and I'm against it.
Okay. So, in other words, you believe that there should never be an abortion.
No,
Mr. Frye believes the women have the choice, even for special circumstances. So, why do you disagree, Mr. Frye, with Mr. Williams' take that women should not have the choice?
Just want to verify the question was, why do I disagree with Mr. Williams' stance on the abortion?
Yes, why do you feel that women should have the choice? Not saying that they should or should not, but why do you disagree with Mr. Williams' stance that women should not be able to have the choice?
Once again, it kind of goes back to circumstances, but bottom line is it's her body that's the procedure. She's the one that's ultimately going to face the side effects, the consequences, and everything else. Yes, it's a life, but unfortunately, just like the cycle of life, there's a life that ends every day, and what new life begins. It's not quite, as easy and as bland as Mr. Williams puts it. Is there are circumstances to all these people's cases. The female should have the right to decide whether or not that child is brought into a lifestyle, an environment, a setting that's not suitable to raise a child. Overburdening the government and the system is not going to help fix the problems that are already at hand. Once again,
I think
ultimately has to. Sorry about the lag out there. She's the one that's ultimately going to have to deal with the physical and the most mental pain and suffering of the issue.
yes, if you'd like to respond,
so
you may.
can you hear me? Okay, so the issue that I'm having here is that it's okay to take life. Is what I'm coming to understand where you're coming from, Paul, is that it's okay to take life and
No, sir, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's a circle of
okay.
life. It's going to happen regardless if
No,
we,
but the thing is,
not.
we try. Okay, but the thing is that we try to give people a chance at life, not just take it just because it's easier option. We don't. It's this to me. I don't fly by that. What I do is I'm pro life. We try to give people a chance at life because if in the end she doesn't want it, the female can give the child up for adoption to a family that will take care of that child, that wants a child, that cannot have a child.
They're called smoke eaters for a reason. And I would like to go on a record and say I do appreciate and value Mr. Williams' view. Everybody has the right to their own opinion and view. Unfortunately, we got to look at common sense in the fact that, like, I wish we could save every single life. You know, I'm a lifesaver myself, but bottom line is we also got to face facts and manpower resources. We keep every child, we'll run out of resources. We won't be able to support the ones that are already here, let alone the ones that are coming into the world.
My thing is that I understand completely what you're saying,
And I kind
and it
of
makes sense. It makes sense, but I can't. I never can live and taking someone's life, even if it's justified. It's hard to live by that, to taking somebody's life. So you always want to go another option, and that's what we was trained in law enforcement, is to use something else rather than deadly force. Am I correct? Right or wrong?
my biggest problem with this here is I'll just be real about it. I'm a guy. I have no idea the mental strain, physical, damages that could be done with this procedure, let alone I just feel that's why in my stance I feel it's up to the female to decide because ultimately they're the ones going through it. Me as a gentleman, I can't stand here and honestly say that's how this is going to work because I'm never going to feel that or understand that emotionally.
All right, we're going to move on to the next topic here. Thank y'all so much for your answers. We don't want to spend too much time on one topic. Mr. Frye, should government be involved in health care? What is your stance on national health care regulated by the federal government?
Well, thank you. That's actually a really great question. Okay, so government should definitely have a hand in overseeing as on a regulatory factor. I feel it should be left on the private side when it comes to the companies and the insurance. However, like I said, there needs to be an overseeing regulatory board to enforce fair and proper coverage for individuals in the country. We can't just have someone running up bills and charging these people all this money. That's why I feel the government should step in. If the government does provide free health care, that's great. I'm not against that at all, as long as there's a source of income for it, the resources and the abilities to make sure we're taking care of everybody equally and fairly.
Mr. Williams, same question. How do you feel about government regulated health care?
Well, government regulate health care, I believe. Well, I believe that if there are going to be a government regulated healthcare, it's to be by the people's choice. If they cannot afford it, if they need it, then okay. Don't force government regulated healthcare on citizens, uh, because sometimes people may just do not want healthcare at the moment. They feel like they don't need it, so it should be their right to refuse healthcare because as a citizen you have the right to refuse. Uh, but like I said, the only reason why government should have a regulated healthcare if by choice, not forcing upon someone.
Okay. Do you have anything to respond to that, Mr. Frye?
Not, not, not at this time. I feel I've stated what I needed to state on this issue at the time.
Mr. Frye, how do you feel about can't put me on mute. How do you feel about outsourcing jobs to other countries instead of having them remain in our own country?
Okay. Well, to be honest, I feel some outsourcing is needed, but I really feel that we should try our hardest to keep most of the jobs and the work inside the country. And the reason for that is I'm looking to build the economy and bring jobs and money into the country. Outsourcing is great when it comes to being cheaper, but ultimately you're sending the money away. we're not getting the money brought into us like we want to or like we need to make our country greater. Like I said, there is some necessary outsourcing. Certain things do need to be outsourced, whether it be available resources for the country, climate issues. Certain crops can't be grown in certain climates. Examples: certain minerals are only going to be found in certain type of geographic areas. That's stuff that we'd have to take into consideration too. But for the most part, I would push really hard to keep everything in country to help build our economy and make us a stronger country.
Thank you so much for that answer. Mr. Williams, same question. What is your view on outsourcing jobs to other countries instead of keeping them in the nation?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, well, my view is there should be a balance. It's going to help our nation either way if we only stay within our nation. If you only stay within the nation, it's going to do the same thing if we go outside the nation. It's still going to bring us income. It's still going to do us, justice doing both if we keep a balance. If we focus too much on one thing, something is going to end up going wrong. That's why we have to keep our minds or keep an open box on things. We can't just we can't just have a closed box or a closed mind on things. We have to expand. We have to expand our options. We have to try new things, and we have to expand our horizons.
Now, Mr. Frye, you disagree with that. You feel that too much outsourcing can harm a nation. 2 minutes to respond. Back to Mr. Williams.
Okay. Let me use a well-known NAFTA. United States President Bill Clinton signed the NAFTA agreement in the 90s, outsourcing a lot of the work to Europe and other countries. And we also saw that country saw the economy decline afterward due to the fact that he was pushing the money out of the country instead of drawing it in. I don't understand how we could make a country stronger and gain money is if we're sending our jobs and our capital outside of the borders of the country.
Mr. Williams, you have 2 minutes to respond back to that if you'd like. Would you like to respond back to that?
Yes. That's one of the reasons why I said to keep it balanced, a balance, and not focus too much on having jobs outside of borders and having focus too much inside. If we keep it a balance, then it shouldn't go wrong. Because if we focus if we focus too much on one thing, that's where things will go wrong. So if we have a balance, you will see that we will actually benefit from that.
And from the live stream here, we have someone who said, high tariffs if we are not selling enough to other countries. They said high tariffs if we are not selling enough to other countries.
Very true. And like I said, I'm not saying not go outside the border. I'm saying only for what's needed. The resources that we can't grow from within our country, we should be outsourcing. Otherwise, we need to be building our economy within our country.
Let's say that our economy is already up to our standards, which they are, which allows us to go outside our borders.
You want to grow your country even more? You're okay with being standardized? As a leader, I want my country to be exuberant. I want them to be the best.
Also, you should also want to expand outside the borders as well, not always be concluding inside the borders.
Well, I think you're taking my stance wrong. I'm not saying that I don't want to go outside the borders. I'm saying we need to focus most of our resources on us as an individual country, not giving away our jobs to other countries if we have the resources and the manpower to do it within our country.
Thank y'all so much. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next question here. This question, of course, will go to Mr. Frye to start off. Regarding immigration, what's your opinion on the catch and release policy, which is basically catching illegal aliens who cross our border, then releasing them onto the street, issuing them a court date, and expecting them to show?
Catch. Sorry there. I lost my connection for a second. All right. So the catch and release policy. I'm pretty much against it. And here's why. If you're going to detain and enforce a rule, it needs to be enforced and upheld accountability to the fullest, not just slapping them on the wrist and sending them on their way. What is that going to accomplish? That's a waste of manpower and resources that we could be applying to other parts of the country that are in more need. I do believe, once again, that we do need to regulate and control our borders, but at the same time, we need to have a humane approach. I don't feel that the catch and release is the best alternative. I feel that they need to understand that if there's consequences, we uphold them to the fullest of the consequences of the law. Laws are there to help rule and regulate society, not for us just to look at them and go, oh, well, they don't apply to me. That's not acceptable. We want everybody to be law-abiding citizens and be peaceful. We don't want them to be in fear of coming in and getting hauled up just to be dumped off in the street.
Mr. Williams, same question, 2 minutes.
I have the same viewpoints. The catch and release policy one doesn't do anything because if you catch someone entering your borders illegally, you give them a court date, and you tell them to arrive at that date. So, and who's to say they're going to show up? And a lot of times they don't. So when you capture them, make sure that you stick them with a charge and send them back. Or my thing is to interrogate, because they just that's actually hurting our security, our national security, legal immigration, because drugs can come in, illegal drugs can come in, you can ship weapons like that as well. So how are they even able to do that is to first and foremost figure out and interrogate when they're coming in, capture, interrogate, and then charge them, send them back.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering that question. We're coming up on just a couple of questions here, but we're going back to Mr. Frye here. Mr. Frye, the next question is, regarding immigration, do you feel that immigrants who move to their new country should be required to learn that country's language for communication?
Okay, this one here is interesting. Let me see here. I just want to make sure. Okay. I don't feel that's necessary. It's not necessary it should be required to speak English or whatever that country's language is. However, I think there should be necessary steps to be able to communicate and not expect others to adapt to them if needed, but to be a two-way street, and we need to meet in the middle. So there needs to be some give from the country, and there needs to be some give from the people coming into the country. You need to be taking the attempt to learn the language. At the same time, the country needs to take the attempt to be able to communicate until you can properly speak a language or be able to communicate thoroughly. I don't believe in countries having official languages. I think that It should be whatever's the most frequently spoken in the country should be the languages. I don't believe that one solitude language should be upheld.
And Mr. Williams, the question is now to you. Do you feel immigrants who go into a country should be required to learn that language?
Yes, I do feel that they should uh, learn the language of the country, but I feel that they should not. I feel the thing that I feel that they should have time to show initiation that they're trying to at least speak the language, because when you are going to another country, you're not it's not going if you want to benefit yourself, you have to learn how to communicate, you have to learn how to adapt, and you have to learn how things work in that country. So that's my view on that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Frye, if you became president of a country and realized there was massive corruption, how would you begin handling getting rid of it?
Well, the first thing I'd want to do is everything in my power to uncover it, to pull it out and put it in front of the light, and to squash it. Whether that be an investigation panel, several investigation panels, federal law enforcement doing federal investigations, however it's needed, it needs to be squashed and not be allowed. People are representing other people. You're the representative of these people. They pick you to represent them. If you're not going to do your job, then they should have the right to find somebody that will.
Mr. Williams, same question. How would you handle getting rid of federal government corruption if you became president?
There's three things that we should do is to investigate, to monitor, and to terminate. The investigation comes into play is when something is brought to your attention to investigate those parties, then to monitor any red flags that comes out of that investigation, and then once that you see that they actually have done those things that's come to your attention, that you have actual proof to terminate those employees to get them out of office. So those three steps can clean out our office.
One of the questions that was asked by someone of the community, Mr. Frye, this is a question from a live viewer. What is your view on government handouts?
Well, now, when you ask about government handouts, are you talking about to the citizens of the country, or are we talking about as in favors for people doing things for people? Can I get a specification on that?
Yes, we will stand by here as we await for specifics. Mr. Pierce, who asked, what are the candidates' views on government handouts? Citizens. He's referring to citizens.
Okay. I believe in helping the citizens of the country. I don't necessarily believe that we should just be handing stuff out. Now, if they're in need, we do need to have programs and resources available to people in need. I don't like the word handout, though. Handout's kind of like, give me this for nothing. No, I definitely believe we should have programs and systems in place to assist and take care of. I apologize, guys. Let me redo that there. I do believe we should have programs and resources in place to assist people in need and assist them in getting back on their feet and getting them to be contributing members of the society in the country.
Right.
However, as a handout, just handing it out without due cause or without requirements or certain qualifications, I don't feel is right.
And the person does ask, who asks this question in our live chat, they do go on to specify like welfare and food stamps, which leads us to our next question. What is your view on welfare, and do you think it's abused? How should the government handle the massive requests for welfare?
Let me take a look. Is that for me, guys? I do apologize.
It is for you. How should the government handle welfare requests in large quantities, and do you feel it's abused?
Give me 1 second here. Just want to make sure I'm looking at my points here. Okay, welfare system. I feel the welfare system should be totally revamped and handled outside of the government to where there's more actual help being passed out and regulatory boards to oversee that help and assistance being passed out by the government. I feel there should be qualifying systems set up on tiers of payments and actual help set for individuals. Basically, when I say that, what I'm saying is depending amounts of resources issued, how much they can help each month should be based off of qualifying conditions. I.e., for instance, I feel somebody fighting a terminal cancer should be getting more benefits than someone that has a weight issue, or someone that can't physically move severely Parsons to where they need that attendant all the time. Should be a higher tier than somebody with a skin disease. That, yes, it makes it painful for them to work, but they still can work. I feel that the tiers and the qualification system should be in place. That way it can prevent any abuse of the welfare system, and it can actually allow the resources to go where they're really needed instead of to maybe not such a needed location. And I mean, disabled people are a prime example of this. This happens in the United States every day, as i.e. example. There are disabled people that can't work, can't physically do anything, that make $800 a month. While there are other people out there that can get a $1,200 paycheck, and they're more than able to work and do the job. They just want to milk the system. So that's my issue with it. I feel there should be qualifications, and yes, there is abuse. Just like any government system, there's always going to be abuse unless it's regulated and oversighted thoroughly and continuously.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We do have a couple of other questions from the live community. We will get to those in just a moment, but before we do that, we are going to go to Mr. Williams, and the same question is to you regarding welfare and food stamps.
Tess, can you hear me? Okay. The thing regarding welfare and food stamps, the first thing is we're going to have a lot of people try to abuse it, and I believe there should be to narrow down the use of it, or the abusing of it. We had to continuously monitor the background when they're changing their income, or their income increase, income decrease. We had to be on top of it, because and actually all the persons that actually live in the home. It's a lot to do, but once you start little by little, you can actually decrease the use of abuses of the welfare and the government benefits.
Completely understandable. I'd like to thank everybody for watching tonight. We do have a couple of other questions for the candidates before we end tonight. But before we end tonight, we are going to take a quick 5-minute break. So our candidates can get a glass of water, can collect their thoughts, step outside and have a short break. But we will be back in 5 minutes. We will not be disconnecting. We will be back in 5 minutes. So just stay with us and we'll be back just to give our candidates a quick break. Thank you for participating in tonight's debate, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Thank you so much for your time. And we are back. Thank you so much for the break. We are back after our break. Our candidates are fully refreshed. Unfortunately, Mr. Paul Frye is a firefighter for his town and was dispatched out to a fire call. He is responding to that call and unfortunately had to leave us. However, what we will do is we will go ahead and we will make sure that our questions and answers are sent to him so that he will be able to respond to those questions. And so what we typically do is when questions are asked to the candidates and they're not available right then and there to answer them, on our website draculgov.com, when you click on the midterms, the 2019 midterms photo on the front of the homepage, you will see questions and answers provided at the bottom of the page from that candidate. So we will make sure that all of the candidates are asked those questions and that you get your answers, of course. So we are still here with candidate Williams, so we will still continue to ask him the 2 questions. We have questions, couple questions waiting from the live community, and we're going to go ahead and answer those. So the question that we have from a person is a very good question and certainly should be touched on. What is your stance and your views on the current education system of the United States?
Now, are we talking about education as a whole, or are we just talking about a certain, high school, middle school, college level, just education as a whole?
I believe what they're talking about is, I believe what they're talking about is on a federal level.
Okay. From what I know from my hometown out here in Houston, the education system is spread out, separated in districts. You have Spring out in on the 45 North. You have Aldine out in the middle, close to Hardy. You have Cypress, 290 going towards Austin. You have HISD going south of 45. Now, I'm not sure how everything else is going in the states, but I do know what's going on within our counties, within our districts. Now, these districts, now the Spring District is where I grew up in. It had very low standards and high passing rates, but very low standards. Uh, and that is what was going on in Houston as a whole is that there's low standards but high passing rates. They rather pass someone to see them graduate but have low standards, and you see on the outcome on the working aspect is that when you go to school you have low standards. They think when someone goes through life and they have low standards, they're always going to complete tasks with low standards. So I believe that's probably this issue with nationwide, that standards are very low in graduating now. I don't know if anybody agree with me, but that's the way I see it. That standards are low. We have to up the standards. So in the working environment, we can see that in the companies that these people are actually doing what they're supposed to do.
And not only that, but I think that we can all agree, we all are under the facts that we're 28th in literacy, 22nd in math, 45 in science in the world. The United States is not up to par with the rest of the world, especially when it comes to European nations. What do you think the government can do to fix that problem and better the education system in America? What is America missing from its education system?
It comes down to teachers. Teachers do what they're supposed to do. Teachers educate the students. Uh, a little off topic, I'm seeing a lot of things on the news that teachers are molesting children. A lot of times they stop focusing on trying to, get with these kids and actually start doing their job. You will start seeing a higher rate of excellence, and it goes on to parents. When I was a child, every time I came home from school, my dad would ask me, "What did I learn at school?" It wasn't just I could not just answer just, "Oh, I learned this, I learned that." I had to go in depth because that's how you know you was paying attention. If you go by paying attention to something every single day, then you know that you learned something that day. If you recite what you've done, you know that you're learning off what you go day by day. So the main thing, like I said, is first the teachers doing their job, then goes by the parents asking their child what they learned that day to actually get them into wanting to understand the subjects more.
Do you
And
do you think that low pay for teachers might also have something to do with that as well?
well, that's funny because everybody complains about underpay. Police officers think that they're underpaid. Teachers believe they're underpaid. I believe I'm underpaid. You can't always, if you do this job just for pay, then you shouldn't be in this job at all.
All right. Now, the next question is a very serious topic and it's very controversial in the world today. Coming from the live stream again, the person, Mr. Pierce, has asked, what is your view on global warming and the issues that it causes, such as fracking, pollution, gas emissions, and sky seeding? You're muted.
Situational global warming has always been a touchy subject, and the thing is, there's always been a situation, an issue. Uh, Everything, all the questions that that was asked has always been issues. Every time someone asks an official, "What are you going to do about this?" They say they're going to do about it, but what happens? Nothing's ever done about it. Every time an official says they're going to do something, what happens? Nothing's ever done about it. So, and the thing is, the secret to global warming is that we're already in global warming, and we can't do anything about it to get to a level to where it needs to be. It's impossible. We can't. I mean, as much as you want to save gas, save on ecosystem, all of this is that the previous politicians abuse oil so much of a certain part that to now it's catastrophic on a high alert level that we cannot cooperate what's going on now because we are so far behind.
Do you feel that a carbon tax, as some countries have done, a carbon tax charging people for using more fuel, more fossil fuels, pollution, things of that sort, do you think that a carbon tax would cut back on global warming possibly, or do you feel that that's a cash grab?
Anything that a government places tax on is a cash grab. Uh, Anything that you see a tax on is a cash grab. Uh, I going to tell you the truth and nothing but the truth, and I don't want to sugarcoat anything that, like I said, anything that is meant to rejuvenate money. You're going to hear something, this one key word, and starts with the T. And what is that? Tax. They've been using this since the beginning of time, using your taxes to pay the government rather than pay the people.
And our next question also comes from the live chat as well. The question is, how do you feel about governments dismantling their nuclear weapons program? Do you feel it would benefit the world better to dismantle nuclear weapons, or do you feel that nuclear weapons are necessary to have a gain on other countries?
My view on dismantling nuclear weapons, uh, if there was a treaty in all the nations to dismantle, to come together to dismantle, then I'm all for it. Do I believe that there shouldn't be nuclear weapons? I don't believe that there should be nuclear weapons. It's always been a threat, nuclear threat, all the times. And with Korea always shooting off their or missiles or testing their missiles and all that, there's always a threat. It's a reminder of the threat. How can we start by actually going towards coming as a nation, dismantling these nuclear weapons? Meetings could be a start with the United Nations coming together, actually uh, being enforced. There should be a law on nuclear weapons on being enforced. That the usage of this, because the thing is that we can all undergo a nuclear war in any second. We are always a threat of that. So yes, I do believe that nuclear weapons should be dismantled.
Okay. Thank you. The next question also comes from the live chat as well. They ask, what is your view on excessive government spending, and do you feel that the U.S. government does indeed, or especially the U.S. government, since that's where we're currently at, do you feel that the U.S. government does spend more than what it should?
Oh yes, I do believe the government spending more what it should because it's proof is in the pudding. We're in debt. If we wasn't in debt, I mean, we wouldn't have been spending more than we should. So how do we get off of that? So the thing is actually using our resources to help better our nation, to help better others. If you use our resources to help other nations, help better ourselves as well, may slowly but surely, maybe we can get out of debt. Do I see us getting out of debt anytime soon? No, I don't. Uh, we're in debt with right now China. We've always been in debt with China. It causes us to almost go on, to war with China, Russia, and all that because of debt. I won't get into that. It's a topic for another day. But debts do create, situations, and they can break alliances. And like I said, the spending, the way spending can stop, spending cannot stop. You're going to always have spending situation because we have a government that's so big on welfare. Uh, that's why the government right now is trying to prevent, housing and all that stuff to lower cost of spending. But what do we still do when we try to lower that cost? We still spend more. We spend more on our military than anything else. We spend more trying to get more oil than anything else. So that's the major issue we have. That yes, we are in debt, and yes, there is an issue in government spending.
All right. We will be ending the debate here in just a few minutes. I should say now the discussion. As we are closing in on our 1 hour, we are going to take two more questions from the live chat group because we do, of course, want to hear more from the outside community and our citizens than just regular standardized political questions. So we will be taking two more questions. If you have a question to ask, please post it in the live chat. We will determine which one should be asked. We will be taking two more questions. We do have a question here. And the question from this viewer is, what is your view on Dracul's inter-micronational cooperation with other micronations? Should Dracul continue to reach out and assist and help other micronations as we have been?
Yes, it's been a successful journey from the start when we first started, and actually, we are where we are right now because we have the treaties that we have with other micronations. We wouldn't be in this area right now if we didn't make these treaties. So we have to keep making more treaties as a micronation to first and foremost get ourselves known. Second is to let people know that we're actually doing something good and that we can run a successful micronation and to show others how to run a successful micronation if they're trying to uh, get started. Um, we never want to make anybody feel unwelcome. That is not our goal. We always want to make people feel welcome. We always want to make sure that their questions are being answered in a timely and prompt manner. We want to make sure that they're it's worth their time, it's worth their effort to actually understand why we are doing what we are doing, and it's to show that we are actually coming together, that we can actually make something better, and to be an influence to others.
Absolutely. I know for a fact that the Commonwealth sent 20 marks to the Republic of Molossia to aid them in their war against East Germany a couple of weeks ago. That right there is, of course, since Draculian currency has no value outside of the micronation, It was more of a connection, a friendly connection with Molossia. I think friendly connections are great ways to start and help out in the micronation community. I certainly feel that debates such as the one today gives an idea, gives an image to other micronations to say, hey, we want not just our government people, the individuals in government positions making decisions. We want to be able to take all of the candidates, the people who are running for certain positions, people who are worthy, who are qualified to apply for different positions, such as government positions, such as president, vice president, governor, might have you, to say, we're going to put all these people together, we're going to get our community together, we're going to be able to allow the community to ask questions to these candidates to see which ones they want to pick during election day. Because a lot of times when you look at micronations, a lot of micronations, not all of them, but a lot of micronations will say, these are your candidates, you need to choose one. Or these are your candidates, here's a few talking points, you need to choose one. You don't really see too many micronations hosting live debates, but that is the reason why we do what we do, is because we want to show others this really works. Not only does it work because people learn more about those candidates, but they actually get to participate. Even non-citizens who get to watch can participate and ask questions and even get responses from them. And if they think that the candidates are highly qualified, especially in that micronation, they might consider, if they're not part of another micronation, getting citizenship with that micronation, knowing that if they join it, they have something really worthwhile to be a part of. And of course, if they're in another micronation, receiving dual citizenship, of course. Now, we do have one more question from the live chat. The question is, would you, as governor, be opposed to diplomatic relations between the reestablished Confederacy and Dracul due to its past as a controversial league?
Is he regard to the situation with recent Confederacy?
Are you referring to a micronation confederacy, a Dracul confederacy during a issue we had in the summer, or are you referring to the United States Confederacy?
Because we did have a Confederacy issue
Yes,
that we resolved.
of course. We're going to stand by and wait for an answer. Get clarification from Seed the Prophet. A micronation based on the old Confederacy with new ideas and freedoms.
So, Confederacy that's involving new ideas and freedoms, are all Confederacy. Am I right? Correct. Okay.
So basically, what they're asking is, how would you feel about a Confederate States of America,
Mhm.
like a long time ago, as a micronation today, but with different rights and freedoms?
Uh, I see where he's going with this, and I feel that if you want to understand what different rights and freedoms, you don't want to go against our fathers, in the beginning, because there's rights there for a reason. So I am kind of trying to understand what different rights and freedoms. but it sounds to me like they just want to see a difference in the way things are being ran, and they're not too happy with what's going on, which is understandable because I'm not too happy with what's going on right now. So it's always good to see a change, and the old being something that's being old. That means that you like how it used to be. So you the thing is that when because like some type of reason old ways were ran really hard and stern all the time. You always had like the old cultures always ran things very hard and stern. You always hear your parents say, back in my day, my child wouldn't do that. Very hard and stern. I like that. I like how that was brought up. So I really think that is a good idea. Yeah, I believe that nation could use that in the micronation community, but you cannot sound too rebellious. You don't want to sound too rebellious. You want to sound to where you're building something up rather than rebelling against something. So, and it's a good idea. I like it. I like it.
And we certainly appreciate that answer, and we certainly appreciate that question as well. And all these questions that have been asked are being written down for Governor candidate Frye to be able to answer when he returns. And again, those answers will be posted online on the dracul.gov website, or my correction, dracul.gov.com website under the midterms section. It will be posted there. Hopefully we can get an answer. If not tonight, sometime before the end of the week, we will post the answer there. We will be holding a second debate with Eric Harvey Williams Jr. and Paul Frye. The date at this time is currently unknown, so please make sure that you check the Dracul website, Facebook, Instagram, and other social media applications to find out the date for the next North Dracul Governor's debate. Hopefully it will be a little bit more lengthier with even more questions than before. You can always ask a question to a candidate even when we're not having a debate by going to draculgov.com, clicking on midterms, and at the top of that page clicking on ask a candidate a question. We will be, hopefully, before the end of the year, having a one-on-one discussion with South Dracul Governor candidate Cassie Bouchong, who is currently running unopposed. If there's another individual that decides that they want to run against Cassie Bouchong, then of course we will host the first debate for South Dracul governor candidates. But at this time, she's currently running unopposed. And I think she certainly enjoys that. But we will bring you more information as it progresses. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube so you get the alerts whenever we go live. We will certainly try to prevent any more errors from occurring, and I think I know exactly how we're going to prevent that from happening again in the future. So we do apologize about the inconvenience from earlier today. We certainly thank you for joining us. We appreciate every single individual who has stopped by to view our debate. It's people like you who actually make these debates worthwhile and entertaining and informative. So we certainly appreciate and thank every single one of you for participating and joining us here today. Dracul thanks you for your participation and your arrival today. Again, check the Dracul social media for more updates and also the next debate date and time. It will be streaming on YouTube, again, live. Hopefully they don't change things on us again. And we certainly hope you have a great rest of your night. Is there anything you would like to say in closing before we wrap things up?
Like I said before, listen to everything that was said tonight because it is on you to choose who runs the state of North Dracul. With that, have a good night and God bless.